develop fast. So in Asia, Africa. Now there, I think most of the countries, Western countries and China are trying to have two railways across Africa. One starting from Kenya, goes through Uganda and on to Cameroon. The other one will cut through Angola in the Luanda Railway and come out near Dar es Salaam. So you can see how the developments are going to take place. So this is one. Secondly, if you look at nuclear power, there's America. The second one is not one of those great economic players, but Russia. And they have enough, the economic strength is sufficient to carry those missiles through. Then China, that is coming up. So you get this double triangle. One is as economic power, China, India, US. As the nuclear powers, US, Russia, China. What they fear is that Russia and China together may have more missiles than US. Then how many others will be? Most of them have carried out their tests. India has. Many of the others have. So it's a changing world order, which is moving away from Europe. And I must say, in fairness to President Trump, he has recognized that. He has called China and they are the global superpowers. He's accepted that. He has not got himself involved in the Ukraine war. Nothing to do, and Russia is not going to invade the rest of Europe. They haven't the capacity to do it. He's also dealing with President Putin. Those are essentials. There is a lot of hurt about how is he dealing with Europe, maybe dealing roughly, but the fact is these countries count more. Then again, the adjustment of their relations with India. So there are a whole lot of, I would say, new ones taking the two triangles. How US gets its relations with China, with India and with Russia. Then how China works out, and similarly how Russia works out. And one of the important things is how the India-China relationship works out. So this is one part. Then within Asia, what do we do? There's also another issue, the status of Iran. Iran has been, now again there's a war going on in Iran. They're going to bomb the bridges one day, they are going to bomb the light post the other day, then I don't know, they bomb the trash cans the next day, and whether it will succeed. You all don't remember, but long before your time, we remember that they were going to bomb the hell out of North Vietnam. At the end of it, the Americans withdrew from North Vietnam. North Vietnam took over South Vietnam and made it the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. So if the bombing will work or not, I cannot say. But these are the experiences that we have. The Taliban was bombed by the Soviets, bombed by the Americans, Taliban are still there, whether you like them or not. So this is a part of the world we live in. Now, into this trade and all will develop. So it's a new relationship. How are you going to work it out, especially in Asia around the Taiwan issue? A lot of them have relied on America to do their foreign policy. They can't rely on America anymore. That I think is a fairly good description. Why should you rely on America? Work it out yourself. Americans also realize they have come to certain limits. So you can see a lot of changes are taking place in the State Department, for the better and for the worse both. What are the other developments we can look at? I would say two things. One of the biggest impacts is going to be climate change by 2050. Now in England, everyone thought they'll fix air conditioners to their houses. Now the municipal council has decided to tax the air conditioners. So how are you going to handle? What about water? Have you got enough water? Power. That's one. Second is the issue of AI and automation. One is automation. Other is AI. It's going to put certain people out of work. Other people will have work. But for instance, since I have been doing law, it looks like AI is going to knock some of the lawyers out. some of the accountants will get knocked out. Automation means the factories will be automated. Now China can afford to do that because their population will drop to about 800 million. So automation will help them. But the problem is when you put AI and automation together, finally the number of people you require will be less. Better paid, but a lower number. Then the beginning of our economic ideology and political ideology from the Industrial Revolution was this big division between capital and labor. Should the rewards be taken by those who have invested the capital, or should the reward go to the labor? So how you made those divisions was how the systems worked. But now what will happen is it's definitely going to work in the advantage of capital. More capital, less labor. Then whole of what even Karl Marx says becomes rather irrelevant. What do you do? How do people live? They are now talking of basic national incomes, basic national capital. So those are some of the ones that we have to go into. And this background, look at Sri Lanka. We only focus on the present. We had a crisis. We should have managed our affairs better. We had the crisis, now we've resolved that crisis, we stabilized it. We stopped producing. So once law and order was restored and political order was restored and we got some funds in, the production started again. In 2022, rooms in this hotel were empty. But when there are law and order, rooms in this hotel became full. So everyone benefited except the fact that I was called a dictator. But now we have to repay our debt. How do we repay our debt? We got time. By 28 we start, and by 30 we are in full this thing of even going up to $5-6 billion. So how do we repay the debt? If this is our growth, then what do? Bulk of your money will go in for debt repayment. You can't be borrowing. If you borrow to repay, your debt goes up. So that is the main issue that we have today, which people have missed out. If you have a debt, you must grow, and you must grow faster. The faster you go, the easier it is. Secondly, what is going to be our future? Our position, per capita income has been dropping. By 2050, Bangladesh may have a per capita income, our per capita may be the same as Bangladesh. But we are not expanding. Bangladesh was much poorer than us in 1977. Their GDP is high. Vietnam was much poorer than us after the war was over. Their GDP is high. They go up to 2 trillion by 2050. We are not getting anywhere close to 2 trillion. How are we going to do it? So one is your future. What is the future we have in this country? How can you get a house? How can you get a car? How can you get a good job? How can you get schools for our children? That is what a government has to solve. But to do that, there has to be growth. There has to be growth. Then the next problem, by 2050, all are living. What about your children's education? What about your children finding a house? What are you going to do for that? So you have to keep growing. But then how do we fit into this new age of climate change, of AI? So that's one thing. Rest is in India and all, the population is still growing. So as the population gets older, the younger people is supported. Now today in Sri Lanka, in the last 2-3 years, our birth rate is dropping. So the older people are increasing. If you look at us, all those after us for the last 40-50 years, population has been expanding. But if you look at it, in 25 years' time, when you're about 50 or 60, you'll find a smaller base. So you're asking them to support an older population. So this is how we have to look at our future. Immediately, how are we going to improve the economic situation? Can we improve the economic situation? And secondly, how those changes to be done? I just described what the world is going to be, where we are going to be. I just mentioned about Thailand, Malaysia and all, because Bay of Bengal is going to be a very important part of the world. Addition to all these countries, now you have what is called the Chengdu-Chongqing corridor. That's a corridor from that which will lead straight through Myanmar for two ports in Myanmar. And they are now trying to link up with Bangladesh. So you can see new orders coming in. So we are going to be in an important position. How are we going to work our relationship out? I had worked out the vision statement with India to work alongside and the Colombo Security Conclave, which are necessary for the maritime security of our area, but that hasn't gone ahead. But you have to work something out with India. But at the end of the day, remember, it's not the IMF that saved us. What had to be done, had to be done. If we went with IMF, we got about $2 billion. If we didn't, we had to do it without anything. And we got that money only from April 2023. Why were we saved? India wrote a $4 billion check for us. World Bank, ADB gave us 600 million. Bangladesh gave us 100 million. And Samantha Power, the US aid, she didn't give that much, but she gave something useful. She gave $50 million in fertilizer at the time of the harvesting. That's how we came through. But we have to think seriously of how are we going to put this economy into order. So I don't want to take any more of your time. You will have your questions. So I thought I'll describe to you what I think of the world and where Sri Lanka should be going to. For you all to decide. It's your future.
Sir, please remain on the stage, sir. Thank you for the vivid explanation of the global and local political situation. Now comes the part many of you have been waiting for.
All right, so at the beginning, I said that the young people do have a reputation for asking difficult questions.
Well, this is your chance to live up to that reputation.
And former president is here for a dialogue, not for a monologue.
So ask the questions you've been debating with your friends, arguing over coffee, over a drink. And also, I want to make it a point that this is your opportunity to engage directly with Sri Lanka's most experienced political leader. Let's make it a conversation worthy of the title, Read with Ranil.
Right, so let's begin. We are going to come to you. If you do have a question, please do raise your hand up and keep your questions direct and short. But do introduce yourself to us so former president can understand you better when answering your question. So let's start. Can we please do have a raise of hands of those who have questions? Binujay, do you want to go over there?
Yeah, sure. Hi, can I know your name?
Hi, it's Nashat.
Please tell me your profession and you may ask your question.
All right. So I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own businesses and I work as a sales executive at a software company in Sri Lanka. So, Mr. Ranil, my question would be, you mentioned a lot of international scenarios in Sri Lanka, in the world right now. The Iran, what's happening in Ukraine, Russia. But particularly, you mentioned you were born in 1949 as well. Since 1948, there's been a different issue in the Middle East. Israel-Palestine. I'm sure everyone in this room knows about it. In your stance, with your decades of experience, will there be a solution for that problem in the foreseeable future?
I wish I could give you an answer. I couldn't. I've seen this throughout my lifetime. Two things which most of the nations accept today, that a solution has to be a two-state solution. Israel has to exist, Palestine has to exist. The issue now is not the existence of Israel, but the existence of Palestine. And secondly, what is the role of Israel in the Middle East? the last Iran war was started off by the basically the intelligence given by Israel that if you knock out the leadership of Iran, that it will come crumbling down. It hasn't happened. And the whole thing. And now it's gone to a stage where they want to keep Israel out of the whole picture. And America seems to be trying to deal with Iran directly, either through war or by talks. But there has been a strong pro-Israel lobby in Europe and in America, which has gone, some of them went beyond the survival of Israel into backing some of these actions. But now I can see the new UK Prime Minister taking a step back on that. In the Congress, the Republican member has brought in an amendment to the budget to stop aid to Israel, but the Democrats, some of them want to support, so these issues are going on. It will take some time, but it can't be played out only in the Middle East. It will get played out here, but the rise of the response of Iran to US has also woken up many other countries that thought that it's going to be easy. And it will still be more complicated, but the new forces are emerging, so you will only know in the next few months how that will work out. Now again, you are at a very tense stage where America is saying we'll bomb you all out, and Iran is in turn bombing all the ships that are going past. So we are at a stage, but I think it's one that will go ahead. Also, we have to look at the outcome of the Israeli elections, whether the left parties will be able to form a government. So a lot of things are going on about what happens in Iran, what happens in US, and what happens in Israel.
So, coming to Israel, the presence of Israel in Sri Lanka is becoming fairly dominant right now. I mean, there's multiple articles, people in the south, people in the east complaining where their establishments are being taken over. I mean, from the government's aspect, will anything be done to solve those problems?
Where a transaction is lawful, done between two parties, there's very little any government can do. If you are gone and force someone to hand over, and there's a criminal case, the government can step in, but not otherwise.
Right. I think we can move on to the next question. Also, here's a reminder to keep asking just one question, because there are a lot of young people here and a lot of them want to ask questions. So we do have a question. Can I please know your name?
My name is Shamal Abedunga.
All right, Shamal. So what do you have to ask from former president?
So when you became president in 2022, 22 million people's lives were in your hand. So how did you prepare yourself mentally to take up such a big responsibility and to bring the country back up to the place where we are right now?
I didn't prepare myself mentally. I've been in the game, and you know your responsibilities. If your country is in trouble, you have to help it out. So I took over, long as there are people to support me in parliament. You know, we're in a peculiar situation. UMP had come down to one. But I came in a situation where others didn't want to take responsibility, and everyone else was asked. So finally, I was not the first choice by any means. I may have been about number 4. But I thought it could be handled, and we have to go ahead, stabilize the economy, and work it out. So that's what I did. You haven't got to make yourself you must be ready for it, and you should be taking it. If you're not ready for it, then you shouldn't be in the game, that's all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question. We can move on to the next. Please tell me your name and you may ask your question.
Right. I'm Dilshan. So my question is, you mentioned about how the Indian continent and China was powerful at some time. I believe that was mainly during the agricultural revolution. Then came the scientific revolution where different other empires and countries became powerful. Then the industrial revolution, digital revolution, and now I believe that we are in the AI revolution. So as you mentioned, the power is moving towards Asia. Do you genuinely think that at a time like this, Sri Lanka will genuinely have a chance at going through a transformation? And if so, where do you think that opportunity is?
Well, you all have to decide whether you want economic transformation or not. We brought the Economic Transformation Act and a lot of other things, but in the election that were rejected. So you have to see what the present government is going to do. But whether you want economic transformation or not lies with you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And we do have another question from this end. Can I please know your name?
I'm Ramitha Sirivardhana from Sri Lanka Law College. So my question is, there has been a considerable discussion regarding the extending of the retirement age or the tenure of the judges. And what is your view on this proposal, and how do you think it will affect the independence of the judiciary, the public confidence, and the administration of justice in Sri Lanka?
At the moment, there's a big controversy, as you all know. And most of the legal professions have come out against the extension, because extension, you serve for 65 years and they don't want any other extension. It's the government that seems to want to push it. I don't know how much of support there is for it. That's the issue, that from what we can see, even the judges. So how much are you going to risk? And the more government pushes, they may be compromising the neutrality of the judiciary. So it's now up to the government to decide what they want to do. But if they want to go ahead, I think there's going to be more and more opposition to it, both in the political sphere and the non-political sphere. That's what I see. But since you're in Halsdorf, you will be able to tell me better.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
I think we have a question from the front row.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for taking this question, actually. My name is Yashani Fernando. I am a very junior level researcher, and I studied sociology. So you very accurately, I think, talked about how we have an aging population. And also you talked about AI, how it's going to be that when it comes to human capital and the labor force, quality is going to matter a lot. Now, my question is, during the economic crisis as well, what I saw from your leadership is not just the fact that we had a great economic plan to get through, but also a lot of diplomacy and political skill was involved. So I think going forward, when we're dealing with how we take in AI and how we educate the population so that we have a better human labor force, what kind of a political direction or what kind of leadership do you think will help us to navigate this problem when we want to face these issues in the future? So basically shrinking population and better quality laborers, actually. Yeah.
Economic transformation doesn't depend solely on AI, but AI is going to be an important role. So one is that you must have a holistic view of the economic transformation that we want for the country and the transformation taking place in other parts of the thing. Then where are you going to pitch yourselves? We can't go to the very top like China or America. That's out. So decide which level you are there and how you are going to work at it. And that means, and the role it has to play. Then in some countries, as the population keep growing, they can still manage. But for others, what do we do? Also, we are next to India, which is going to be, it's been in the field of IT more than AI, but they will come into AI also. So that's how it works out. Of course, we have one advantage. What is the mind? Intelligence comes from the mind. No? So what is the mind? Read the first verse of the Dhammapada.
Thank you, sir. So I move to this side. Can we please of those who have questions? Okay. I see a hand here. Can I please know your name?
Yeah, so my name is Bimsara Pereira and I'm working as an immigration officer. So sir, based on your following up your comment on the Asia powers gaining the power in 2050, so with India being a very powerful neighbor to us, so how would their impact be on Sri Lanka's growth, and also especially the proposed land bridging that would connect Sri Lanka and India? So based on those facts, how would that affect Sri Lanka's growth in the future?
When India was a big empire, the impact they had was they sent Reverend Mahinda here. When it broke up into small kingdoms, we were fighting some of them, they were fighting some of us. No, now world is going to be, there's going to be economic integration. So the first question is, do we want to have free trade agreements with all the countries around us, plus China, Japan and others, or not? That's the first question. Because all the world is going for regional or bilateral trade agreements. So what is Sri Lanka going to do? We have not yet completed the one with India. We have only done 2, Singapore and Thailand. We have to do Indonesia, China, there are about 4 or 5 more waiting. So first is, we have to realize the world is becoming larger. You can't live behind tariffs. The tariffs has also come down. Then you have trade agreements. Then what do you want to do with India? When you are next to a 44 billion economy, what do you do? What do you do if you are next to a 44 billion economy? If I give you 5 purchases of land next to this hotel, what will you do? You put up a restaurant and try to get people there to come and eat, no? So like that, how are we going to manage? By 2050, they say, Tamil Nadu alone may be a 2 trillion GDP to 4 trillion GDP. Telangana, Andhra, each will have a trillion each. So you have 4 trillion. So do we utilize this GDP or not? That's the first question. That is basically the first question you have. If you don't want to utilize it, then the question ends there. If you want to utilize it, because you have China on one side and China is going to come down into the Bay of Bengal. So then look at how you can work with them. What are the areas? Where can we learn? For instance, our coconut trees have less nuts than Kerala. We all shout if we open Kerala, coconuts will be sold here. I mean, why can't we also have the same category of coconuts? Kerala guys also might come and plant here to get some and go off. So in that, India has a $44 trillion economy. Tamil Nadu will at least increase its GDP 4-fold, 5-fold, or maybe 8-fold. So now when all that goes, they have to export and they have to import. So where are the harbors for India to import and export?
Thank you, sir.
Wait. I'm asking the question. Where are the ports for India to import and export?
So those are
the best port here, if I going towards Japan or California, West American coast, is Trincomalee. It is the biggest nation. Why don't you get together with the Indians and develop it? Then you develop, you have Colombo. We still have 3 areas, 3 terminals that are not done. One terminal is the China merchants, one with Adani. We have 3 terminals that are not done. Then do you think those 3 terminals and Trincomalee will be enough for all the goods? Send it back. So into that question comes, What will happen if you have a land bridge? If you have a land bridge, they come here, go out. You have one road that connects to Trinco via Madavachia. That develops. If you have land there, you become Indian here. You have another one you can bring through Nikavaratia area into Kuliapitiya and to Jaila. Because then you can build another port in Jaila and Vattala. So those are some of the benefits that come. Our worries, is the Indian culture going to influence us? Then why are you going and watching Hindi films, Bollywood films and doing Bollywood dances? That is not what we are all doing. Oh, yeah, we are not doing anything else. That is the culture. So that you must stop. Second is, some people say India is going to invade us. If you ever read the Shah Commission report, no one in India will come to Sri Lanka again. I can tell you that much. But we have to be confident of country. England said the same thing, but they put a tunnel under the English Channel. So what do you all want? But all we have said is do a feasibility study. And at that time, if the feasibility study is positive, you can debate in the country whether it's good or bad. A government can't impose. But work it out in the future, you need something. President Jayawardena gave us the Mahaveli schemes, electrification, Sri Jayawardena put us all of a sudden, in about a decade again, building started. That pushed the economy. You need a good push in your economy for it to go up. So look at what it has to be. There are here people with different ideas, but you must debate it, discuss it, it's good.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you, sir. I think the next time you all go and watch a Hindi film, you are definitely going to remember today and sir's answer. Right. අපි ප්‍රශ්න අහනකොට අපිට සිංහල භාෂාවෙනුත් ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාව විතරක් නෙමෙයි. ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය මම මේ පැත්තෙන් අහන්න තමයි සූදානම් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. Can I please have a raise of hands again?
We have a question right at the back from one of our gentlemen. So, can you phrase the question? Before you phrase the question, can you also introduce yourself to our friend?
Sir, I'm Sahan Veeratunga. I'm also coming from Law College. It's very nice to see you, sir. If you don't mind, I will be asking a question in Sinhala. Sir, highlight kara thank you ekadima දැන් ගොඩක් AI වෙනවා ඒම ඉකොනොමික් කෝඩ් එක වෙනස් වෙනවා ඒ වගේම sorry සර් එතකොට ඒකත් එක්ක මට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ සර් පොලිසි ඩිසිෂන් එකක් විදියට ගත්තොත් දැන් ඒ කියන්නේ මේ වෙලාවේ සර් ඉලෙක්ට් වෙලා ඉන්නවා නම් මොන වගේ ඩිෆරන්ට් පොලිසිස් ද සර් ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරන්නේ මේ අපිට ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලා ජෙන්සි මිලේනියල්ස්ලාට කම්ෆර්ටබල් ලයිෆ් එකක් ගෙවන්න විශේෂයෙන්ම දැන් ඒ කියන්නේ බේසික් ලක්ෂරීස් එහෙම වුණත් අෆෝඩ් කරන්න දැන් ගොඩක් අමාරු වෙනවා විශේෂයෙන්ම රිසෝස් ලිමිටේෂන්ස් එක්ක. එතකොට සර් කොයි වගේ පොලිසි ඩිසිෂන්ස් ද මේ ඉස්සරහට එන ප්‍රශ්න එන්විෂන් කරලා ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ සර්? ඒ කියන්නේ imagining that you were in the power at this very moment.
In politics, you should not imagine. I am not in power, so I need not imagine those. මොකද්ද මට කරන්න ඕනේ? අපේ පරම්පරාවේ කාලේ අපි කරන්න තියෙන ඔක්කොම කරා. ඔයගොල්ලේ පරම්පරාවේ කාලේ කට්ටිය ඉන්නවද කරන්න? දැන් අපි ඉන්නකම් උදව් කරලා උපදෙස් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. නායකත්වයේ ගන්න. එහෙම ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ අයට මම උදව් කරන්නම්. ජෙන්සි අදහස් මොනවද කියලා මම නෙමෙයිනේ දන්නේ ජෙන්සිනේ. මගේ අදහස් අපේ අම්මලා තාත්තලා දැනගෙන හිටියේ නෑ. ඒගොල්ලේ අදහස් ඒගොල්ලේ අම්මලා තාත්තලා දැනගෙන හිටියේ නෑ. ඉතින් ඒවා කරන්න මොකක්ද කරන්නේ කියලා තමයි දැන් බලන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඔක්කොම දැන් ලෝකයේ යන විදිය වෙනස් වෙනවානේ. අපි පොඩි කාලේ අපි මේ නෑ අවුරුදු 25 30 හරි ගිහින් 25 හරි ඔය ගිහින් එලිෆන්ට් හවුස් එකෙන් අයිස්ක්‍රීම් ටිකක් අරගෙන කෑවා. අද මොකක්ද තියෙන්නේ බින්චුන්ද මොකද එක එක ඩ්‍රින්ක්ස් තියෙනවා බබල් ටී තියෙනවා ටී අයිස්ක්‍රීම් තියෙනවා මන් දන්නේ නැහැ මම එකක්වත් දරන්නේ නැහැ ඒක තවත් ලෝකයක අපි ඉන්නේ ඉතින් ඒක මොකද්ද කරන්නේ කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ තීරණය කරන්න අලුත් ලෝකයකට යනවා නම් ඒ ලෝකේ ජීවත් වෙනා තීරණය කරන්න මොකද්ද කියලා ඒකයි අපිට ජනාධිපතිතුමා කිව්වේ දින්නාම මට ලලිත ගාමිණීලා ඔක්කොම දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ කැමති විදිහට මේ හදන්න කියන්න අදහස් ටික දෙන්න. ඒකට තමයි අවස්ථාව දුන්නාම අපි අරගෙන ගියේ. එහෙම නායකත්වයේ ගන්න කැමති අය ඉන්න ඕනේ. එයා නැත්තම් ඒක කරන්න බෑ.
Thank you, sir. I think you got a vivid answer for your question. We have a question on the front row again. Please tell me your name and.
Hi, my name is Sheham Abusali. I'm passionate about mediation. It's nice to speak to you again after 2 years. My question is, what is the role of politics, or what should be the role of politics in Sri Lanka? Thank you.
That is the most difficult question you have asked me. What is politics? Now it's a question of influencing the making of decisions in politics or trying and achieving political power. So main thing is achieving political power. Now do you do it? In other countries when you do it on the basis of a manifesto or policies that the countries follow. If you want a right-wing wave, you will find it's going toward the right. If it's a left wing, it goes towards the left. Then there are other issues that can come. For instance, we had elections on whether we should fight the LTT or what we should do or destroy it. So like that, time to time issues come. Those issues that determine. So if you are doing politics, you must have issues and policies and work around it. The problem now is like in England, they just say, they just go and vote for Nigel Farage without knowing what it is. They are against the system, so they work. But you can be against the system. But voting against the system means if you are against the system and vote for another system, you think is better. But here, like here, you should not get used to, these are bad, we'll give another man a try. That doesn't work. If one set of policies are not good, you do the other set of policies. That's the opportunity that is given. In a dictatorship, there are one set of policies that keep going all the time. This gives for more and more ideas to be had for it to be. So we have to go back to having policies, deciding what do you want to have. What are the policies you follow? Actually, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, we were much clearer. Now we came to open the economy, open it out. There was some who were against it. But okay, we debated it, went to the people. So politics basically is how to influence the making of policies and the direction of the country. One is through influencing policy making, like chambers, trade unions, go and meet the government. Or second is actually deciding who wields power. In deciding that, those people must also have concrete policies for the development of the economy, social policies, anything. Without that, you try it out, you are going to be in a soup.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we move on, due to time constraints, we only can accept very limited number of questions. But we also have a question from one of the gentlemen right at the back. Can you mention your name and also your question as well?
Sure. I am Humaizura Ghazi. I am currently doing MA in Defense Studies at University of Lucknow. My question is, real development come from an inclusive development. Okay, so based on your, so you have like 4 decades of experience in politics. So what is your opinion in making what is your advice for the policymakers and the government to make the inclusive policies in reality? Like most of the policies are formed, but those are not in reality. But what is your advice and opinion? how to make the inclusive policies in reality and how the inclusive development can be a sustainable thing.
What's my advice to whom?
Policymakers.
Policymakers.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we are committed to a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society in where are different social categories, different economic categories. So we have to ensure the same treatment to all. And secondly, we have to ensure that there is adequate income for everyone, basic level from which people go up, and there is no concentration of wealth. How do you do that? And what is it? Now, for instance, whether it's a Sinhala culture, Kandyan or low country, or whether it's the Tamil culture, hill country or this thing, or it's the Muslim culture, either from the eastern province or western side, those are ideas, they are contributions that have enriched our society. So the multiculturalism must be respected. Built on same, we should be multi-religious, whether it's Buddhist or Hindu or Christian or Muslim. We can't cut off all those cultural connections or cut it off completely with the religious connections, but we can't go and favor one at the expense of others. So in that, we are looking at a social, my advice is on a social market policy to go ahead. But the issue is actually to answer you, what is my advice specifically to the policymakers. The policymakers are the government. I don't think they listen to my advice. The only thing they did was lock me up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from here.
Good evening, everyone. මම විකුම් දේශිත environmental data analyst කෙනෙක් විදිහට වැඩ කරන්නේ. සර් මගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි අපි geopolitics කතා කරනවා. එතකොට අපි අප්ඩේට් වෙන දේවල් ගැන කතා කරනවා. මම data analyst කෙනෙක් විදිහට government එක සහ මේක ගෙනියන අය දකින්නේ ඔය සිස්ටම් එකක් විදිහට. එතකොට මෙහෙයුම් පද්ධතියක් විදිහට. එතකොට අපි අලුත් අප්ඩේට් වෙන දේවල් ජියෝපොලිටික්ස් මේ 21 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ තියෙන දේවල් ගැන කතා කරනවා 20 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ තියෙන හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් සිස්ටම් එකක ඉඳගෙන නිලධාරීවාදය ඒ දේවල් එක්ක එතකොට ලෝකේ ගත්තට පස්සේ ගොඩක් වැඩ ගන්න ඩේටා එක ඉන්දියා ඇමරිකා චයිනා එයාලා ඒවත් එක්ක ග්ලෝබල් සප්ලයි චේන් එකත් ගොඩක් ෆාස්ට් ඒ කියන්නේ ස්පීඩි එක්සිකියුට් කරලා තියෙන එලා ඩිසිෂන්ස් නමුත් අපි ඉන්න තැන මම හිතනවා ගොඩක් ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ එක්සිකියුෂන් ગેප් එකක් තියෙනවා. අපි එතන හිර වෙලා ඉන්නවා. එතකොට ඒකට අපිට ටෙක්නොලොජි යූස් කරලා අපිට ඒකේ ස්ට්‍රැටජි එකක් අපේ සර් දකින්නේ සර්කියුලර් විෂන් එකත් එක්ක මොකක්ද ස්ට්‍රැටජි එක අපිට ඒක ඒ බොටල් එකේ අයින් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Thank you.
මේකේ ප්‍රශ්නේ 20 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේද 21 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේද නෙමෙයි. 20 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ සිස්ටම්ද 21 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ සිස්ටම්ස් නෙමෙයි. 19 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ ආකල්පයේ තියෙන මිනිස්සුන්ට 20 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේද 21 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේද කියලා දෙයක් නැහැනේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ 21 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ තියෙන නිසා කොහොමද 20 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ 21 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයට ගේන්න කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒකයි වෙනස. 19 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ ඉහිර වෙලා ඉන්නවා නම් කොහෙවත් යන්නේ නැහැ. මේවා තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. 21 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයේ ඉන්න අයට තේරෙනවා අපි දැන් 20 වෙනි ශතවර්ෂයෙන් කොහොමද 21කට යන්නේ කියලා. ඉතින් ඉස්සෙල්ලා ආකල්පේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ආකල්පේ තිබුණාම සිස්ටම් එක ගැන ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එකම ප්‍රශ්නේ කොහොමද මුදල් හොයාගන්න මේ වැඩේ කරන්න කියලා.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we move on, we also have a question from him. So can you introduce yourself and also ask your question, please?
Hello, sir. I'm an Indian origin Sri Lankan, and I'm an educator from Kerala. And what you said was 100% correct about India till now. And Kerala is currently now importing coconuts from Tamil Nadu. And they have shifted their focus from cash crop economy to a service-based economy, where we are heavily focusing on Ayurvedic products. And also we are the highest number of labor for TCS. So my observation is, can Sri Lanka become like Kerala because of the literacy rates? For instance, we were admiring C.W.W. Kannangara's policy when we were young, because they were the first to introduce it after South Korea, I think, free education policy. And now, today, in Kerala, we have 100% literacy rate. But the biggest challenge with Sri Lankan students we are facing is we are getting more binary thinkers. They only know plus, minus, addition, subtraction. But we have very few spectrum thinkers. For instance, ISRO and NASA, we were competing because of spectrum thinking. So one of the education reform we can have within villages and also basic education, especially in international schools too, of spectrum thinking, because the Edexcel and the Cambridge syllabus of British systems are too outdated compared with the Indian and the United States syllabus. Plus also, I believe you are aware that this year India introduced the new education policy where they have 4 years BCom undergraduation program, where they are mostly focusing on training. And most of your ideas are 100% accurate, sir, because I have to acknowledge it. And if you observe, Malaysia and Singapore had the deal where Singapore got most of the resource support from Malaysia. And till now, in the evening, when you go to Singapore, you'll always see Malaysians going out of Singapore border when they come to work. Can we have that culture in the future? Because I think that is the most sustainable policy. And as you were telling, Sri Lankans are always bothered whether India will invade Sri Lanka. The answer is no, because India is in a different vision at the moment. I can say that was around 1975, 1980s. But now everything has become stable. And considering the next 25 years, I see a bright side for Sri Lanka if they invest more on fundamental education, because Sri Lankans are very smart and very intelligent and has one of the highest civic sense in the entire SAARC region. Thank you very much, sir.
Where are you from?
I'm from Kerala, sir, but I'm a Sri Lankan. For the last 10 years, I'm in Kerala. I just came for my sabbatical holidays.
Okay, Sri Lanka, from where are you?
I'm from Colombo only, and I'm from Colombo Central. So my ancestral family is anyway a UNP fan. So I'm also a UNP fan for a long time. And even my university members, I just want to acknowledge it. During the economic crisis, there was a news. I was in India. They were saying Ranil Wickramasinghe has been appointed as the Prime Minister. And the dean of our university was almost very senior. He said very calmly, he will solve it. And it happened, honestly speaking. And they couldn't pronounce your name properly. And I believe since you have traveled there, you may know the way they pronounce your name. It is Wickramasinghe. They don't say Wickramasinghe. So they said Wickramasinghe will solve it. You don't have to worry about it.
So where are you? Trivandrum or?
No, I'm from Cochin actually.
Cochin.
And also we are based in Bangalore also, because it's a Catholic-based enterprise called Carmelites of Mary Immaculate.
Yeah.
You may be aware that Kerala is mostly governed by the Catholic priests, especially the MG University. So we generally work with that. And honestly, we had a very high expectation of Sri Lanka, because we wanted Sri Lanka to be the next Israel of the SAARC region because of the human intellectual capital. And unfortunately, no one understood your vision due to lack of understanding and communication skills.
So you asked a lot of questions now.
I'm very sorry. I'm very excited.
On the education side, we have to rethink. Look at syllabuses, everything, and give our universities a chance of developing instead of trying to control it through the UGC. Let new universities come in, some Indian universities or others, and we should have some form of funding the students to go in there, because depending on our income, some the parents can afford to pay, others can't. So that money should not be a barrier for education. Now, India is developing, and you will have developed far more on the engineering, other sides of AI. Sri Lanka also can come into that phase and keep developing more and more people. But once you develop them, you have to give them the income that they want. Able to buy a house, you might be able to buy a car. Otherwise, they go abroad. So this is what is happening even in India. People are going abroad because they think they can get a better deal outside. So we have to, I agree with you on that, what you've been saying on the education. We have to take a completely new look at education. We can be proud that we had this thing, but our education has to get updated.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I am going to take up the next question from this end. Can I please know your name?
Hello, sir. I'm Rian Javadhan. I'm a 17-year-old schoolboy. So my question is, the current geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and other parts of the world are reshaping the global order. So how do you think this will affect Sri Lanka, and what would you do if you were the president today? What would you do if you were the president today, sir?
I'm not the president today, fortunately. What you are seeing is a completely, even the whole Middle East situation has changed. And Middle East have become a center between US versus Iran. And it is testing America's power like the Vietnam War tested America's power again. So it's a very uncertain one. Iran is going to take a beating, but if they think they can take the beating, then they can, because what they have to do is a job of sinking ships that go past their shore. America has to knock out Iran. In the process, Iran is hitting others. So Iran feel that they say we close up the whole area. Then what will the Middle East countries do? UAE has threatened, they have hit, UAE has threatened to hit back. But also there is a Shia minority, sizable one in Saudi Arabia and in Bahrain. Iraq is mainly Shia. In fact, the body of the late president was taken to Iraq and brought back. You don't do that it's showing their authority. So it's a big thing, but slowly America is getting again cornered, like at the Vietnam War. And no one that's really going to come to help them with Iran. So can the American forces alone destroy? If they go to destroy Iran, immediately their arsenal comes down low. So they won't have enough missiles and all against anyone else. So that's one part. Then the rest of the world is going through a very important phase. And how this turns out will have a bearing on the rest of what I have said.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from here.
So my name is Sunera Lanarol. So my question is, in your speech you mentioned about two global issues about this, climate change and AI and automation. So my question is, as Sri Lankans, what are the immediate actions that we should take to face those climate change and AI and automation challenges? And if we actually include those suggestions in the Sri Lankan context, what is your predicted GDP by 2050?
Firstly, you have to decide what you want to do for AI and climate change. So those policies have not yet been announced. That is the issue we have. Then for us, GDP is today at about 108, I think, billion US dollars. It's a question of how fast you want to grow. I have my economic transformation, others, we went on a basis of 5% till 2030, 6% till 2035, and 7% after that. You can you should even try and go for 8, because if you are capable of going to 6, you keep going up so that you come close as possible to 500 billion at that time, so that by 2060 you can easily hit $1 trillion or more. You then look at per capita for all of everyone. But if you go at 5 only, you may be somewhere in the 300 billions, 350. Whether that is enough. And we had 5% growth. Remember what is dragging us down is we have to make repayments. So if we don't grow fast enough, we are going to take more debt. So it will take you down to another crisis. But if you increase your exports, for that you have to get enough of foreign investment. Then you get non-debt creating foreign investment inflows, and you get it, then you go much faster. So this is the choice that you all have to make.
Thank you.
That is the question you have to ask the government, not me.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. But before we move on, due to time constraints, we are only limited to 2 more questions. And one of the questions is from right back at our reception hall. Can you introduce yourself and also ask the question?
Mr. Vikramasinghe, my name is Asela Fonseca. I've been into the corporate sector for some time. One of the issues that we have in the corporate sector is the lack of proper leaders. And when you look at the UNP as a party, I think the lack of leadership is clearly visible in terms of what has happened across the last 20 odd years. I would like to ask broadly, what are the strategies that as a party that you all have put in place to attract caliber that is needed to redefine the political landscape of Sri Lanka through the UNP party?
2 answers to that. Firstly, when others failed in their leadership, the UNP came forward. That's the test of leadership. We may be 1, we may be 2, we may be 3, but we are used to leading. And all of us lead from the front. Now we want a new generation of leaders. So that depends on how you all respond. You all come forward, we'll train you. How did I come here? I have about 40 years or 50 years in politics. 77 I got into parliament. Yeah, next year I'll be 50 years in coming into politics. 72 I started. So the question of a new leadership does come. What you say is there. But so it is now the time for what someone here called the Gen Zs or newer people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s to come forward and exercise. We have opened it out and we are talking to people, but we have to, a lot of our parties are 40 plus parties. Any party I look at is 40 plus. There's about 6.8 million below 40 and over 18. So we have to get our leaders to come from that. Even on the 40 to 50, there are only few. So the whole system requires that infusion. The UNP is looking at that. Secondly, how do parties function? Old days we had branches in every village. It's not possible today to run branches like that. People won't come. Those days when I did 77 elections, there had no electricity anywhere. Even 2/3 of my electorate, though it was Biagama, no electricity. So in the evening, the only entertainment was when we went and held meetings. That was the main entertainment there. Today is different, no? You have your handphone. So in that system, online politics becomes more important. How you communicate. It's a new paradigm shift that is taking place. So the leaders must then come from that. The second part of your question, I can't answer. It has to be answered by the people here.
Thank you, sir. Sir, අවසාන ප්‍රශ්නේ අපි අහනවා. ගොඩක් කාලයක් ඉඳන් සර්ගෙන් මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අහන්න බලාගෙන හිටියා මම ටිරෝන්. ඒ වගේම මේ අවස්ථාව මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අහන්න මේ අවස්ථාව නිර්මාණය කර දුන්නට විශේෂයෙන් හරෙන් අයියටයි පසිදු මල්ලිටයි තැන්ක්ස් කරන්න ඕනේ. මේ platform එක හදනකන් ඇත්තට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අහන්න අවස්ථාවකුත් තිබුණේ නැහැ. එතකොට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි සර් එක මාධ්‍ය වැඩසටහනකදී සර්ගෙන් අහනවා දේශපාලනය සම්බන්ධයෙන් සර්ගේ පොත ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක දේශපාලනයට පාවිච්චි කරන ග්‍රන්ථය මොකක්ද කියලා. එතකොට මේ ලෝකයේ හුඟක් අය දේශපාලනයට පාවිච්චි කරන පොතක් ඇහුවොත් එහෙම උත්තර හම්බ වෙන්නේ එක්කෝ 48 laws එතකොට princess the war of the ඒ වගේ ලෝකේ තියෙනවානේ දේශපාලන සම්බන්ධ විශේෂ පොත්. නමුත් සර්ගේ උත්තරේ උනේ දා කෞටිල්‍ය චාණක්‍යගේ අර්ථශාස්ත්‍රය. අද දැන් මෙතන ඉන්දියාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් ගොඩාක් කතා කෙරුණා. එතකොට මගේ කියවීමේදී මම එදා දැක්කේ අර්ථශාස්ත්‍රය සම්බන්ධයෙන් අර්ථශාස්ත්‍රයේදී අර පොත්වලට වඩා වෙනස තමයි අර්ථශාස්ත්‍රයේ තියෙන්නේ බලය ලබා ගැනීමටම නෙමෙයි. බලය ලබාගෙන මේ කෞටිල්‍ය චාණක්‍ය එකපාරක් කියනවා වතුරේ ඉන්න මාළු වතුර බොනවද නැද්ද කියලා හොයාගන්න බෑ වගේ මේ බලය තියෙනකොට බලය තියෙන අය දූෂණය කරනවද නැද්ද කියන එක හොයාගන්න බෑ. නීති රීති ගේන්න ඕනේ කියන කතාව. වතුරේ ඉන්න මාළුවාට වතුර බොනවද කියලා අපිට කියන්න බෑනේ. ඒතකොට මේ අර්ථශාස්ත්‍රය ඇතුලේ හුඟක් වෙලාවට තියෙන නීති ඒ කියන්නේ රාජ්‍ය පාලනය කරන අයව දූෂණයෙන් තොර කරවීම. ඒතකොට ඒ රීඩින් එක මට තිබුණා. සර් කියන්නේ මේ මූලිකව දූෂණය සම්පූර්ණ නැතිකරන්න ඕනේ අදහස සර්ගේ තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපි දැකලා තියෙනවා සර් ගෙනල්ලා තියෙන නීති රීති දූෂණ විමර්ශන පනත්, ඒතකොට ස්වාධීන කමිෂන් මේ ඔක්කොම ඇවිල්ලා සර් ගෙනල්ලා තියෙන්නේ අපි දන්නවා දූෂණය නැතිකරන්න රාජ්‍යන දන්. ඒතකොට තොරතුරු දැනගැනීමේ පනත් ඒ එකම ඊට පස්සේ කාරණාවේදී මට තව ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. ඒක නෙමෙයි. ඒක මම රීඩ් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. නමුත් මෙන්න මේක තමයි ඇත්තම ප්‍රශ්නේ සර්ගෙන් අහන. මේ දැන් මේ platform එක ආවහම අහන්න තියෙන එක කෞටිල්‍ය චාණක්‍ය මේ පොත නිර්මාණය කරන්නේ දූෂණයට විරුද්ධව වගේම සැබෑ සහජ හැකියාව තියෙන ගොපළු කොළුවෙක්ව රාජ්‍ය අඛණ්ඩ රාජ්‍යයක් නිර්මාණය කරන්න තමයි කෞටිල්‍ය චාණක්‍ය කවුද මෞර්ය වංශික චන්ද්‍රගුප්තව ගෙනාවේ. එතකොට සැබෑ ඒ කියන්නේ අර සහජ හැකියාව යාට තිබුණේ. එයාව තමයි රාජ්‍යත්වයට ගෙනාවේ. එතකොට අඛණ්ඩ ಭಾರತය නිර්මාණය කරන්නත් ඒක ප්‍රයෝගී වුණා. එතකොට සර් මේ කරන්න හදන්නේ මේ platform එක ඇතුලේ ඒ සහජ හැකියාවන් තියෙන කණ්ඩායම එකතු කරලා මේ රට ඉදිරියේදී අර එදා අඛණ්ඩ ಭಾರತය වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් ලංකාවේදී සර්ගේ තේරවාදී ආර්ථිකය සහ ඩිජිටල් ආර්ථිකය කියන කාරණාව ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්නද කියන එක තමයි වෙලාවත් අපි ඉවරනවා. එන්නේ ප්‍රශ්නේ සහ සර් තවදුරටත් කෞටිල්‍යද චන්ද්‍රගුප්තද නැත්නම් දෙකමද මේ ඉන්න කණ්ඩායම හරහා ඒ නිර්මාණය කරන්නද කියන එක තමයි සර්ගෙන් අහන ප්‍රශ්න.
කෞටිල්‍යයක් නෙමෙයි චන්ද්‍රගුප්තත් නෙමෙයි මම රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ. ඒ දෙකක් තියෙනවා. අපි දැනගන්න ඕන කොහෙන්ද දැනුම ලබා ගන්න. ඉතින් දේශපාලනට අපි යනවා නම් ඉස්සෙල්ලම තියෙන්නේ කෞටිල්‍ය අර්ථශාස්ත්‍රය කියවන්න. මම හිතන්නේ ඒක සිංහලෙන් තියෙනවා කියලා. ඉංග්‍රීසි පිටපත් නම් එතන තියෙනවා. නෑ එතනින් කියන්නේ කොහොමද බලය ලබාගෙන කොහොමද ඒ බලය යොදවන්නේ. එන හොඳට යොදවන අවස්ථාවත් නරකට යොදවන අදහසුත් උදාහරණත් දීලා තියෙනවා. චන්ද්‍රගුප්ත කියන්නත් විශේෂ තරිතයක්. චන්ද්‍රගුප්ත මහා ඇලෙක්සැන්ඩර් රජුගේ මුණ ගැහුණු පුද්ගලෙක්. එයා කියන්නේ මහා ඇලෙක්සැන්ඩර් රජු එක්ක පෝලස්ට විරුද්ධව රජතුමාට සටන් කරා කියලා. ඉතින් කොහොම හරි ඒ දැනුම ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. මැකියාවේලි කියන්නේ කොහොමද බලය අරගන්නේ? බලය තියාගන්නේ. ඊට වඩා නෑ එතන. බලය ලබා ගන්නයි බලය තහවුරු කරන්න ප්‍රින්ස්. මෙයා ඊට වඩා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මෙතන අපි බැලුවේ දැන් මේ ඔක්කොම ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕන නම් කට්ටියක් ඉදිරියට එන්න ඕනේ. ආවෙන් පස්සේ උගන්වන්න මොනවද උගන්වන්න තියෙන්නේ කියලා. දේශපාලනිකයන්ට අමාරු ගමනක්. සමහරු වැටෙනවා, සමහරු අයින් වෙනවා. 77 අපි ජයවර්ධන පිටිපස්ස ගියද්දි මගේ මිත්‍ර බොහෝ දෙනෙක් හිටපු අය දේශපාලනයෙන් අයින් වෙලා ව්‍යාපාර වලට නීතියට එම ගියා. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ තැන්වල දියුණු වෙලා ආවා. අපි කට්ටියක් මෙහෙම කෙලින් ගියා. ඒක කරගෙන යන්න. ඉතින් මෙතෙන්ට ආවේ ඉතින් ඒ පරමාර්ථය ඇතුව තමයි. කැමති අය කවුද ඉන්නේ? වගකීම් බාර දෙන්නම්. බහැලා දැන් බලමු කරන්න ලෑස්තිද කියලා. මොකද කැපවීම නැත්තම් අර්ථශාස්ත්‍රය මැකියවල කවුරුත් කියලා වැඩක් නැහැ නේ. ඒක නිකම් බලන එක.
Thank you, sir. I hope we have enough time to squeeze in one more question. I urge you to keep it very short.
Greetings, Mr. Wickramasinghe. I'm the Prime Minister of the SDG Children Parliament. So what during this session, what the thing that got most amazed thing was that you have extraordinary mind. It's unlike the few that I came. It's unlike the minds that I came upon, the few politicians that I've met in my life. So I have under my parliament there are like 85 students which operates under Sri Lanka United Nations Friendship Organization, and what we do is we achieve the UN SDG agenda implemented by UN headquarters in 2015. So what I wanted to ask you is, I've been reading few books. The thing that got interest to me in this program is a title, Read with Ranil. So I've been reading some books. It's a collection of books. It calls Great Books of the Western World. So it's just in that there's 60 books. One of my favorite was the Machiavelli by Prince by Machiavelli. Likewise, what I want to ask you is that, so what is there any particular books or book collection that you that would teach me to get an idea of your extraordinary mind? I want that basis, that extraordinary foundation of your mind, just so I can teach it to my other 85 students.
Tell our book as such. In our lifetime, we keep reading and we keep updating ourselves with what is happening. And then you see how we apply. But situations also change. I can't say what happened, what I studied and what we should have done in 1977 is what we have to do today. So it's a question of reading, following events, and deciding how to pass it down.
I'm just being bold. I don't think I'm just being bold. And in your beginning of your session, you said that you would, if there is a young leader, that you would help him. So
if there are young leader or leaders, we'll help them.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have run out of time. So, and I also want to mention that we have selected all these participants through applications, and there are really great minds here, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions to ask. So, don't worry, don't have any regrets when you go home. Scan the QR code. We have given you all the opportunity to ask your questions directly from Form President, and we will definitely look into the fact that you will get the answers to your fingertips. So thank you, sir, for just not speaking to us, but speaking with us. And thank you to everyone who asked questions, challenged ideas, and became part of this conversation.
Before we proceed, there's a small announcement.
Sorry, sir.